Hey, what's up, naughty community? Welcome back to my naughty hobby with Amber for another easy to follow crochet tutorial. Happy Monday, and I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create this beautiful granny square that I ended up spending my whole weekend crocheting. All of my squares have the ends tied in, and this was just such a beautiful pattern. I thought you might want to learn how to crochet it as well. If you want to follow with my exact dimensions, I'm going to be using a D or a 3.25 millimeter hook and some number 1 super fine 100% cotton fiber. And I will put the details of this specific fiber in the description for you. You'll also need some scissors, and I like to use a very sharp sewing needle for doing my ends. This worked up beautifully, however, this yarn tangles really easily. Let's get some of these squares out of the way. I do have a written and diagram pattern that I've printed out today that we'll be following along with. You can pick this up off of my Facebook page. We've got the written directions over here and obviously the diagram with our key to let us know which stitches we're going to be using. In this particular pattern, we're going to be starting in the center here where we see this 1. So let's start with this round number 1. Round 1, we are going to create a magic ring, chain 5, which will count as our first treble stitch and also our chain 1. Then we're going to treble and chain 1, a total of, like, we want 3 groups of treble crochets. So let's go ahead and bring the camera down just a bit, and we'll get started with this. After my tutorial, I'm going to be redoing my nails because, yep, I lost my thumbnail. So let's go ahead and create a magic ring, and we are going to do 5 chains off of this. See, I didn't get underneath that loop all the way. So here is my first chain. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, those first 4 chains count as a treble stitch, and then our chain 1. So now we're going to place another treble, or technically our first treble stitch. Chain 1, do another treble where you yarn over twice, insert your hook and drop that loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through remaining 2. So technically we have 3 treble crochets there. Just let's glance at our diagram. I know I've got a lot of people interested in learning about these. So we just created this treble stitch here. I see these 3 loops which indicate a chain stitch. So we're going to do 3 chains and then another group of those treble crochets. So the chain 3 will be our corner spaces. 2 and 3. Let's work a treble. Chain 1, another treble stitch, chain 1, do another treble stitch, so there's our second group of treble stitches. We're going to create another corner by chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, and again with another treble. Being mindful of our tension as we work over this magic ring in the tail. If you tend to work your stitches tighter, it's harder to close up your hole, close up your ring at the end of this foundation round. So we just finished our third group of trebles. We've got 1, 2, 3. So let's create another corner using 3 chains. And we're going to follow that same pattern of a treble, chain 1, treble, chain 1, treble. It's okay if your circle isn't really looking like a circle as you work these stitches. After our very last treble, let's take a look at our diagram again. So here's the last treble that we just completed. And if you look here, you see a chain, and then what's this stitch here? That one is a half double crochet. So that looks a little confusing to what maybe you've worked before, and I'm going to show you how that works. We're going to do that chain 1 first, and then go ahead and find your tail. So we're going to close this up just to make it a little easier to see. I never pulled too terribly tight. We've already put that chain 1 on there. Now we're going to count up 4 from the base of our chain here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, one of my chains is hidden, I can tell. Yeah, because we did a chain 5 in the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4. On 4 is where that 4th chain is where we're going to put our half double crochet. So I yarned over, and we'll complete, go ahead and complete that half double crochet into your 4th chain. Now by using a stitch there, what this does is allows us to start at the appropriate spot of this actual chain space or our corner space. So we'll take a look at our diagram again, and we're on round 2 now. We're going to chain 1, and over this half double crochet that we just created, over the half double crochet created, we are going to place 2 single crochets and then a single crochet into each of our stitches and chain 1 spaces from our last round. So you'll do a chain 1, and then right over that half double crochet is where you're going to place 2 single crochets. We're also going to place a single crochet at the top of that chain 4, which counts 1. We're going to crochet over the chain 1 space, which is a little difficult to see in our beginning, but that's what this little loop is right there. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. Should be looking like this. Now into the corner spaces, the chain 3 spaces, we're going to place 2 single crochets, chain 2, 2 single crochet, making sure you don't place one of your single crochets over your next stitch, which is right here. Now we're going to work 5 single crochets, working 1 into the top of each stitch in each chain 1 space. There's 5. We're to our next corner where we will do 2 single crochets. Oops. Chain 2 for the turn there. 2 more single crochets. And we're going to continue this all the way around. At our next corner. Now we're coming up on our last little straightaway here. And then over this last space, we're going to place our last 2 single crochets. We're going to chain 1, and let's just take a look at our diagram again real quick for the second round. I see a chain 1 and then a single crochet. That's what either X's or plus signs indicate to us. So instead of doing a half double crochet, which gave us a little bit more length, we only are going to do a single crochet. So I've already put 1 chain on there, you can see it here, and then just going right through the top of that very first single crochet that we created, you'll pull up a loop and create a single crochet. Again, so we are on round 3 now. We are going to do, so on here it says to chain 3. I don't like how much bulk that actually leaves doing a chain 3, so I'm just going to do a chain 2. However, if you like having a little bit more length to work into, it's going to be worked the same, and you're welcome to do 3 chains instead of 2 like I'm going to. All right, so I'm chaining 2. And then working into that very first single crochet, we're going to place a double crochet. So I should have specified that that chain 2 is going to count as our very first stitch. Now we're going to place a double crochet into each of our stitches to the next corner or chain 2 space. right, we're to that chain 2 space or to our corner. So into each of the corners, working right over that chain 2, we'll place a double crochet, chain 2, okay, I did grab all the threads there, and then another double crochet right into the same spot. Now again, we're going to double crochet into each of our stitches to the next corner. Here we are to our next corner. Sometimes this type of thread gets so kind of twisted up. Sorry about that. We already worked into that corner. No. Okay. So I see my 2 little chains there. Into the corners we work a double crochet, chain 2. Why does this feel so thick? I'm sorry. There we go. These colors work up really beautifully, but sometimes this thread, I believe it's called Sultan, King Sultan, it splits really easily, so sorry about that. Again, the corners are a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then we'll just work again these straight edges, 1 double crochet into each of the stitches across. On our last straightaway here. I'm definitely doing my nails this afternoon. That thumb's driving me crazy. All right, so for our last stitch to follow our pattern, in the corner there's our chain 1 space and that single crochet that we worked at the end of our last round. So let's work 1 more double crochet into that chain 1 space. We're going to chain 1 and again work a single crochet either into your 2nd or your 3rd chain, depending on what you decided to do at the beginning of this round. And again, work a single crochet for the joint. Glance at our diagram again. we just completed round 3 and now we are starting on round 4 here. So into our chain 2 spaces, we will only be doing 1 single crochet into those. Won't be doing too much of an increase. So let's go ahead and chain 1 single crochet right over that single crochet we created for the join. And then we're going to work a single crochet into each of our stitches across, keeping in mind that that beginning chain counts as a stitch. So our second stitch is going to go right into the top there. And then for this next one, I always have to work it a little bit slower, making sure I get under that front loop too, just because it'll draw the eye a little bit more to that stitch if you just go through that back loop. And again, we're just going to be single crocheting into each of our stitches. Into our corner spaces, we'll just do a single crochet, chain 2, and another single crochet. Single crochet into each of your stitches to your corner, to the next corner there, chain 2 space. To that next corner where we do single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, then again place a single crochet in each stitch to our next corner. On our last little stretch of single crochets, all right, again, our very last stitch, we're going to work over that chain 1, which is just 1 single crochet. Going to chain 1 and then work a single crochet join into the top of that first single crochet that we made. I was like, why is this looking so weird? Because I hadn't really closed up my hole there. So far your square should be looking like this, with a little bit of help. We just completed our 4th round, so on to our 5th here, where we're going to be working with treble stitches and chain 1, just like we did in our very first round here. So again, there is our single crochet join, and we are going to be working 5 chains, which will count as our first treble, the first part of our last corner, and that chain 1 space. Jeez. Need a bigger working space, I guess. Okay. So off of that single crochet join, we're going to do a chain 5. So there's our treble, there's the chain 1 space. We're going to get ready to work our first treble stitch. You skip the first stitch, which is here, and we're going to work that treble into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, treble into the next. When you come up to your corner, it should work up to where you'll have 1 stitch to skip there before working our corner. So chain 1, you're going to work a treble into the chain 2 space created in our last round. We're going to chain 3, place another treble into that same chain 2 space. Chain 1, you're skipping this next stitch and continuing the pattern across. Again, in the corners, we'll work a treble, chain 3, treble. Again, I have 1 stitch that I'm skipping over to this corner space. Putting 3 chains instead of 2 when we work with treble stitches. I find that it's a little bit easier to pull through my stitches when I pinch and create an easier space. If you're kind of wondering, you know, what I'm doing there. Always chaining one and skipping one on these straightaways. All right, we are back at the join. So here's our last stitch here. We're skipping that, and you can see my chain one. We're going to place our last treble stitch right over that chain one to complete our last corner. I like to do a little bit longer chain one, and then we're going to do a half double crochet join into our fourth chain again. So you can count it from the base here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you just work a half double crochet right into that. We only work the half double crochet join on the rounds that we work treble stitches, and those are also the only rounds where 2 stitches will go into the corner. We'll take a look at our diagram again. Here we are on round 6, and we just did that half double crochet join. It's showing us to work 2 single crochets over the half double crochet, and then 1 into each of our stitches across, including the chain 1 spaces, and then each corner is going to get 2 single crochets, chain 2, 2 single crochets to keep that corner going. So I like to do a chain 1 to get myself a little bit of room to work with there. And then working right over that half double crochet, we will place 2 single crochets, and then single crochets in the top of that beginning chain, and 1 into the chain 1 space, and then into the stitch itself. Did I put an extra there? I better. Nope, I was right. Oh. So yes, a single crochet into each stitch and chain 1 space. Into our corner spaces, since it's a chain 3, we'll work 2 single crochets, chain 2, 2 single crochets, and then again we'll just work a single crochet into each stitch and chain 1 space to our next corner. at our next corner. In the corners, we work 2 single crochets, chain 2, 2 single crochet, and then a single crochet into each of our stitches and chain 1 spaces across. Almost to the join here. Again, we're going to place 2 single crochets, chain 1, and work a single crochet into the top of our first single crochet made. We've got just one more round to work. It's weird to say round when you're working on a square piece. So we just completed round 6 here, where we put 2 stitches into each of our corners. And for round 7 here, we are going to work, again, if you wanted to work 3 chains, you can. I'm only going to work 2 for the height requirement, but that will count as our first stitch. We'll still put a double crochet into our very first, 1 into each of our stitches across, and then into the chain 2 spaces, we will only be doing a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So from here, I'm chaining 2. Going to double crochet into the very first stitch there. And now into each of my stitches across. I'm hoping after I'm finished up with this square, I'm going to have enough for at least one more, because if not, I'm just stuck with kind of an awkward amount of fiber left. Into the corners, we put a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. And then I'm just going to continue to work a double crochet into each of my stitches across. Gotta do something about my hangnails. I got my collagen gloves. I'm actually looking forward to letting my hands soak. We're in another corner space, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. We've just got 2 sides to go before we're finished up with this square. Till we're all squared up. Another corner here, our final corner. Might have been the last stitch, sure was. Okay, so we see our chain 1 here coming off of our last stitch for the corner. We'll just work a double crochet, chain 2, working either into the 2nd or 3rd chain depending on how many you started with. I started with 2, so I just slip stitched into that 2nd chain, and I'm going to fasten off. Da-da-da. And it does feel like maybe I have enough for one more. Won't be doing that now, but I pulled my yarn through. Let's just go ahead and make this a complete video. Show you how I triple weave my ends in to ensure that they never ever come apart. I know a lot of people use blunt eye sewing needles when weaving their ends in. I highly suggest using a very sharp needle. It makes actually weaving through the threads or fabric a lot easier. Which I find that part, you know, going through the stitches to be really the most important part of weaving ends in. That's really what makes it sure that it's never coming out. So I just pull my tail to where it's not making my other stitch or part of my chain go weird or anything. But to get it, keep it from slipping back, I'll put my thumb there. And now I'm going to make sure that I'm bringing my end on the wrong side of my work. And I'm going to start working down through that very first stitch or chain there. Another thing is don't ever pull super tight. You want to make sure that you're able to like work with it. So I neaten it up along the edge there. And this is where the triple weave comes in, but I try to be really mindful of staying with the same direction of the stitches. So just so I don't have like a huge disruption in the way the stitches are going, I just brought that tail down along, and now I'm actually going to run it under these stitches right here, making sure I go through some of the stitches itself. See how I'm kind of poking through there? There's my first pass. Kind of straighten out my stitches. And now I'm going to go through the side there, but I'm trying to catch pieces of the tail itself. I always keep an eye on my last loop. I can see it's right there. And I want to try to catch at least one little part of it. That's all you really need. Go ahead and snip that off. And then with your center, the biggest thing, I'll just show you real quickly with when working with a magic ring and weaving this end in, it's really important that you follow the natural flow of your stitches. And I've already tightened up my ring, but I can tell that my yarn is coming out right here. So when I pulled, it spiraled it this way. The biggest takeaway here is you don't want to take your end and now start weaving it this way. I'm going to follow that same stitch pattern. So I'll bring it through some of those stitches, and the higher up on the stitch that you go, the easier it's going to be to work your needle through them, because the base of the stitches tend to be a little bit tighter. So after the first pass, I have a little bit of a gap there that I don't love. So I'm just going to adjust those main stitches, hold on to the center, and then finish tightening it up once I make sure that each corner is kind of even. I've already brought it through the first pass. So now I'm going to go through some of the same stitches. hopefully back through the actual end. And voila. My end is all weaved in, sure to never come back out. This is how your square should look after you're finished. Let's get it into the frame there. This is the color that they started with, and I'm pretty much obsessed with the ones that have this pink. So again, here's the diagram. If you didn't have a chance to already stop by my Facebook page and check that out, I always appreciate a new, naughty friend hanging out with me. Thanks so much for watching today. I'd love to see what colors you choose to make these beautiful squares. Hope you have a wonderful Monday. I'll chat with you guys all real soon. Take care and happy hooking, guys. Bye.